Next 45 minutes or so, we're going to talk property, we're going to talk REITs. There's a new listing on the JSE today on the main board. It's called Tower, and we'll speak to the CEO from our JSE studio. After that, we discuss REITs. What are they? Why have they come into being in South Africa after all these years of being internationally recognised? We'll speak to George Sabanda from Webber Wentzel, and also in the Cape Town studio with me is Anton de Goda from Coronation Fund Managers. After that, we have a look at the markets with Gerard Lampen from Sanlam iTrade, and also Graham Kerner from Kerner Perspective, and then we have an economic review. We look back at what's happened over the week in terms of economic releases and look forward to next week. But let's get straight into this new listing. Listen to this. The Tower Property Fund, it says here, will be officially listed on the JSE this morning and will be the first property fund to list under the new REIT structure. The fund is being launched by the Spire Property Group and partners and has an impressive, it says here, again, management team, including Spire's Mark Edwards, Bruce Kurzweil and Keith Craddock. And from the JSE studio of CNBC is Mark Edwards. Mark, congratulations on your listing. Can you tell us a little bit more about your company?
Sure, thank you. Tower was launched last year, November, when we put together an unlisted fund, and we've brought it to market this morning. It's a 1.65 billion rand portfolio. Like we said, we're the first REIT to list at a forward yield of 9%, and we bring a mixture of properties to the market from commercial and retail.
Let's talk about the property portfolio that you've got now. It says here 1.65 billion, and one of them is just around the corner from this studio, actually, Mark, the iconic, as you call it, Cape Quarter, and you've also got a place in Grayston Drive. Not a particularly huge portfolio, but obviously the fact that you're the first REIT means that you're hoping to expand and gain some publicity from this listing.
Absolutely. The REIT structure is quite favourable to us in terms of aligning ourselves with developers to put their properties into the fund in exchange for paper. They get rollover tax relief as a result of that. So the property we've assembled has been mainly as a result of that. Very excited about Cape Quarter and Upper Grayston Drive. Upper Grayston from the reason it's a five-star and six-star Green Star properties. And we've got a strong pipeline going forward, which we hope to bring on in the next 12 to 18 months.
Tell us about that pipeline. When you say strong pipeline, I mean similar properties to the ones you've just described, or are you going to diversify?
No, thanks. Slightly different. We overweight office at the moment. We're about 70% office. We'd like to reduce that office exposure to around 30% and bring our retail up to 50%. Most of the pipeline is retail and Cape and Johannesburg based, with one new property coming on in KZN. Our strategy is to look at properties between 50 and 200 million rand until we hit the 3.5 billion rand in size, which we hope to do as soon as possible, and then to take the fund from there.
Okay, so 3.5 billion is your target, and you want to go down from 70 to 30, and more or less 50-50 between retail and office in the future. Does it not worry you somewhat that your exposure, 50% exposure to retail, might be sort of getting in right at the end of the cycle, given the couple of retail pieces of news we've had out this week from JSE listed companies? Sure.
We've got some quite interesting properties which we can bring to market. I mean, in the existing portfolio, in terms of Cape Quarter, it's the way we think the market's going to be moving, where it's a very specialist retail shopping centre. It's a very unique spa, for example. It's the best performing spa in the country from an internal spa awards point of view. And the retail properties which we're bringing on, which some developers are going to be look to put into our fund in exchange for paper, are high yielding funds in upper LSM communities, where the properties have been around for a long time and have been held in private hands for a long time. So we're quite excited about that. We do think that this cycle is coming to an end, and landlords are going to have to be a bit more creative with their retail spaces, and not bang out the same model which has been used kind of ad nauseum in the past.
Let's talk about the semantics of the listing now. Who are your shareholders? How much are you raising? And go on from there, if you would.
Sure. Yeah, we were fortunate to have pre-commitments of the 300 million rand. Our shareholder base, which was raised in a very volatile period, our capital raise was during the most volatile period of the sector's history, I think. And we've been well supported by bigger institutions such as Stanlib, who have come in for paper, and then smaller asset managers such as Grindrod, Prescient, 3PM, BOE stockbrokers are smaller names on the register. So we're very encouraged by that support. We're not necessarily going to be coming back to the market on the initial pipeline portfolio, and then we'll look to come back after we've brought our pipeline in.
What has been the reaction of the investment community to the new REIT structure as far as you're concerned? We're going to discuss this in a moment with a fund manager in Cape Town and also George Sabanda in Joburg. But what has been the reaction? Do you think it's going to make it easier, more efficient and a more popular sector, the JSE property sector that is?
Yeah, I think it's been amazingly well received. I think Anton will tell you better than I can, but I think 16 of the funds have committed to convert to REITs I think by September or October. We're the first REIT to list. From our point of view, it makes the overseas and local investors see the transparency of the fund a lot easier from a tax perspective, and so we really believe it will add value to the entire listed property sector. I think some big listings are going to come as a result of the REIT structure. Some big unlisted developers will probably bring their funds to market towards the end of this year to take advantage of this.